I look really small. You make me look
I
really short.
Yeah, you look short. I look paper thin.
Like a stick.
Like a stick.
Can't even see you.
I'm so small.
That's what the girlies say
Can't see me.
on TikTok.
Have you seen that thing with the K-pop girls where they're like, yeah, to like gauge how thick I am, I grab an A4 piece of paper and I hold it up against my body, and if I see my body either side of it, I'm too fat. You seen that one?
That's crazy.
That's crazy. And it's like portrait, not long ways, portrait.
The expectations of the
Crazy.
K-pop industry are out of
Wild.
this world.
Out of
and
this world.
Lead to a lot of very depressed young people.
Yep. Including the K-pop people and the people who look up to them.
Who I predominantly meant was the actual K-pop idols.
The people that look up
themselves,
to them as well.
but also
Poor things.
fans. No,
Wow.
I am not. I'm unfamiliar with that because I have tree-sized thighs.
I love them. One of your thighs is like the size of both of mine.
Yeah, probably.
It's so exciting. I was grabbing onto your thighs last night. No, today. And I was
earlier today. Yeah. You're trying to see how much you could fit in one hand. Not much.
Not much. My hands are not big enough. Holy.
Anyway.
Yeah.
It's another episode of our
episode.
popular D&D
Woohoo.
podcast. You just want to go.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Caitlin.
I'm Ewa.
Welcome to the floor. Today we're revisiting an episode that has been lost to time.
Time itself's gone forever.
We got rid of it because we weren't happy with
We
it.
didn't like it. And I think one of the problems that I had with it is that I didn't say what I wanted to say in the way that I wanted to say it.
Yes, that's the main.
That's the
problem
main
that
reason.
you had immediately after we finished recording.
Yeah, and I think it's a thing that I'm trying to learn and have been learning all this year. And I think part of last year was that a thing that is complicated needs time to say, right? And I think these podcasts, the way that we've been doing it, we've been trying to shove too much into 1 hour. These are huge ideas, huge complex themes and ideas that we're talking about, and 1 hour is not nearly enough to talk about it, right?
No.
And so I think when today, indigeneity, right?
Yes.
That's the thing. The theme, the idea that we want to talk about is indigeneity in D&D, in tabletop role-playing games, all that stuff. And I think that cannot be talked about enough in 1 hour. This is a thing that we're going to be talking about for the rest of our lives. This is part 1 of 1,000.
Yeah, but that's the same about every episode we've done.
Yeah, but I think in my brain
Do
I
you
haven't...
need it to be called
I think
part
it
one?
needs to be called out. It needs to be said explicitly. This is not even part 1. We need to pick a tiny piece of indigeneity in our game, in D&D, and we need to talk about that. We can't talk about all of it. Obviously, we're not going to. And it's not that I have been trying to do that. It's just that my brain's been trying to shove too much in to these sessions.
This is not the
these
quintessential
discussions.
episode on indigeneity and is not the full stop at
It
the
is
end of
just
the conversation
our
of indigeneity.
first one. Our first one talking about this thing. And in this first one that we're talking about, this one that people will see. What do we want to talk about?
Well, I thought it would just be fun to just talk about our experience of playing as Indigenous people.
Right.
Not necessarily diving that deep into the... I don't know. The implications of indigeneity in the world of Dungeons and Dragons and
Sure.
in the Forgotten Realms and in
Sure.
capitalism and all that. And
Sure.
just starting small with our
Good luck.
actual approach as Indigenous people to playing D&D.
Sure.
Yeah.
There's an anecdote, a thought, an idea, a thing, a story, an observation that I've had.
Sure.
Lately.
Synonyms.
Yep, all those things.
Yeah.
Of this game, we're gonna start a game. We're gonna start a new game, and we're gonna stream it, and hopefully it's gonna be great. It's gonna be amazing. It's gonna be cool. But we're playing with 2 wonderful, beautiful people, and I love them to pieces.
Couple of
both of them.
whiteys.
Couple of whiteys, both of them white, and that is beautiful and okay and cool.
Hey,
We are also white.
if you're watching this,
If you're watching this, we love
we
you.
love you.
We love you so much. But an observation, and
But
I
yeah,
haven't told them that I'm
also,
going to talk about
yes,
this.
Important, we are also white people.
We are also white people.
We're
I haven't
just
told them that
not
I'm going to
just
talk
white
about
people.
this, but it is an observation that I had. Is that I told both of them that this game is going to be innately indigenous, right? Because I am an indigenous person, I am the DM. I'm going to be. I can't divorce myself and who I am from my stories. So it is going to be indigenous, right? That's what I said to both of them. And they were like, okay, cool, amazing. And they both, during character creation, weeks ago, were both like, I want to be like the character I want to play is very closely related to like my whakapapa as a white person. So they both went Irish or Scottish, or they went like to their whakapapa,
That's
to
true.
their lineage. And I was like, I didn't tell them to do that. I didn't explicitly say that, but I loved it. I said I'm doing my Indigenous thing. I'm like, through my storytelling, connecting with my culture and my people and just my Māoriness. And through me wanting to do that, they saw this as an opportunity to themselves express their whakapapa and their lineage and their culture and their heritage. And I was like, fuck! That's really cool and really sweet. Just an observation.
To talk about the, about... I just said we're just going to talk about us being Indigenous.
Just do it.
Anyway.
Just do it. Talk about whatever you want to talk about.
The cultural identity of being Pākehā in Aotearoa, New Zealand, as a person who's not Pākehā...
Sorry, continue.
Was that your reaction to me immediately going deep, or is that
No, I got
did it just
freaked
go
out.
the wrong way?
The D-bag hit me in the face and
sorry.
I coughed.
Got
sorry.
teabagged.
Oh, enough. 14-year-old boy-ass joke. Sorry. Continue.
When we were a little bit younger than we are now, like 6 or so years ago, it was 6 years ago.
Sure.
A friend of mine was a part of a group of very cool people putting out a book called Imagining Decolonization.
Yes.
And in that book, her chapter was about being Pākehā in Aotearoa.
Yeah.
And I read her chapter. I read the whole book
Yes.
because I can read. And
I've also read that book. Whoa, what a ride.
what a ride!
What an absolute ride.
But Amanda's chapter in that book, she talks a bit about like how to be Pākehā and to be like a good Pākehā and to be proud of being Pākehā in Aotearoa
Yeah.
is to like, you need to know yourself and know your roots and everything.
Yeah.
And I think that it continues to be one of the things that I've like held on to the most as a lesson from that book.
Yeah.
Because we do come across a lot of Pākehā in this country who are uncomfortable with being identified as Pākehā because they still think of it as like a negative identity.
Yeah.
When it's not. Like they're like
It's not.
you mentioned it the other day that somebody else had said that Pākehā don't have any culture.
Yes, no, I was at work and one of my beautiful friends was talking about how set the scene. There was a kid who came in and did a survey. The survey asked, are all people who are born in New Zealand allowed to be New Zealand citizens? And I said yes. And another question was, are Māori, regardless of whether they are born in the country or outside the country, should they be allowed New Zealand citizenship? And I said yes. And then there was a discussion that was had. Some people said that gets complicated. And then another person, beautiful friend, both are beautiful friends in this conversation, I should say. But one of my beautiful friends was like, I think yes, because they are tangata whenua. They are, Māori are of this land. They should have the right to be here, regardless of whether they are born here or not. And then they went on to say that, Pākehā, we don't belong here. We don't belong anywhere. And I was like, oh, this is a lot to unpack at, 2:04, a minute before we have to go to class. Like, oh, this is a lot to unpack. But she said that.
Yeah.
I came home and told you, and I was like,
As soon as you told me the anecdote the day of, like, I was, in the way that I often am, throughout our relationship, I've been working on my conversational skills.
Sure.
And because for a long time, I simply did not engage in conversation, and you got quite frustrated with it.
Mm-hmm.
So a part of the strategy for me learning to conversate was that I just had to be confident enough to say things when I thought about them.
Sure.
Which became also eventually another problem where I would just interrupt you and say the thing that I was thinking.
I think it is a thing of like growing up. We both had to feel that sort of thing.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to say is when you told me the story the other day, when you got home from work, I immediately was like, yes, but in Amanda's chapter of Imagining Decolonization.
Yeah.
And here we are, because the conversation is still in my mind.
Of course.
Yeah, Pākehā should feel a deep, profound connection to their identity as Pākehā.
Yeah.
And I think that everybody in the whole world should feel a deep, profound connection to who they are, and finding out, coming to terms with who they are, I think just makes you a much happier, healthier person.
For sure.
And I think it is reflective of the people that we choose to be close friends with.
Yeah.
That, yeah, their reaction, either knowingly or unknowingly, to you saying that the game was going to be Indigenous and is being Indigenous led, was for them to also go out of their way to connect with their characters on that level.
Yeah, it's pretty beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. It's that thing, that classic thing of like indigeneity, like honoring Indigenous people is good for everyone.
Isn't it ridiculous that we started the indigeneity episode by talking about being Pākehā?
I think it's like it makes total sense.
Yeah, no, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it makes total sense. And it's not that like being Indigenous is to be in opposition to being Pākehā or to being white. That is not true at all. But like it is difficult to talk about one without talking about the other, and in like completely. You do have to address those things,
There are a lot of Indigenous ways of being and knowing that benefit all people.
Yep, agreed. And there's also like the thing about being, I was going to say about being Indigenous. It's not necessarily about being Indigenous. Being Indigenous means, at least for us in the Pacific, means that we were and are actively being colonized, right? That is a thing that is happening. White people, well, we're colonized, or like, the country is, colonization, is it happening around us? It's all around us. Sure. Okay. Sure, academia. It's happening. Colonization is a thing. But like, our beautiful friends who came and like starting this new game with us, this new story with us, they, are of cultures and of peoples who have also been and are going through colonization.
Yes.
And so we have some similar shared narratives in that. And I think it's interesting. It's very interesting. I don't know if it's necessarily something I want to talk about, but it is interesting that, it is interesting that we started a podcast talking about, or we're starting our D&D game about indigeneity, and our beautiful friends are also bringing in the ways that they have been harmed by whiteness and by Western ideologies. Very interesting. Very interesting.
I appreciate you bringing this up.
Yeah.
Because I hadn't even thought about it.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it is I think a problem with me.
Yeah.
Is like the amount of time that we spend being in this like really Indigenous headspace.
Yeah.
Particularly with the government and the state of chaos that it currently is, and that like the indigeneity of it all is constantly under attack.
Sure.
So you kind of have to think about it all the time.
Uh-huh.
And it's exhausting. But like thinking about it now on reflection of the session 0 that we had last night, and the characters that I was introduced to that the other two are playing, I didn't really register like at the time the cultural affiliation with Ireland and Scotland from the two names. Like I heard it and I was like, oh yeah, but in my mind I'm just like, yeah, white names. Which is really bad and is a problem with me. But I like thinking about it now and you pointing it out. Yeah. It's the Irish and the Scottish.
Yeah. Really hurt by colonization.
Real fucked up by colonization and Christianity and Catholicism and all that.
Yeah. Capitalism absolutely fucked them. It fucked us. Like in different ways. Definitely different ways, and benefits and just a lot of
there's a lot of nuance.
A lot of nuance between it. But like there is some similarities, and I think it's beautiful that in our character creation, both our friends wanted to explore a little bit of that, a little bit deeper.
Really
not necessarily consciously, or even
but
not necessarily like that was like the main thing that they wanted to do, but just a little bit. And I was like, fuck, that's Really fucking
I really
cool.
hope that is a reflection of like the environment that you in particular have created
Sure.
that has encouraged them to like feel some sort of confidence to be able to do that safely in our game.
I think it's because I'm such a badass wahine Māori, and I'm so goddamn connected to my culture, and everyone sees me as an inspiration.
Yeah, I think so too. No, but I do though.
Drag me!
No, like this is the whole fucking reason I'm doing the PhD.
What do you mean?
Is that I think that when you are led by someone who is true of heart,
True. Ooh. Ooh.
that
Is it
it can
Disney movie?
create, that it can create a environment at the table,
Yeah.
physically or virtually,
Yeah.
that makes the hard done by, the
No, continue. Yeah. Sorry. Just the way you looked at me when you said that, I was like, oh. Okay.
the hard done by of the world,
Yeah.
like feel safe
Yeah.
and like comfortable exploring some of those more difficult
Yeah.
parts of like existence.
Yeah.
And even like when we were sitting around doing the session 0 like survey that we always do at the
Yeah,
start
yeah,
of the
yeah.
campaign.
Yeah.
And we got to like the racism part where
Mm.
we talk.
Mm.
You are essentially taking everybody through this survey questionnaire thing.
Yeah.
Being like, hey, are you comfortable with this kind of topic in the game?
Yeah.
And we always get to the racism part, and immediately you're like, okay, so hear me out. You'd think, because we deal with racism all the time, that we don't want it in our stories.
Yeah.
But actually, no.
It's everywhere.
We want it to be the main thing.
Yeah.
And I liked...
No,
that-
hang on. We have to explain that more. We can't leave it on
no,
that.
I don't think we have to explain
We do
that
have to
more.
explain that more. Imperialism. We were talking about.
It's always about imperialism.
It's always
We
about
don't do
imperialism.
that goblins hate fucking humans and elves hate dwarves or whatever the fuck, because that's boring.
boring.
And Tolkien can suck a dick.
Yeah.
Continuing.
Continue.
I liked that when we got to that part and we explained that we tend to do racism more of like an imperialistic, nationalistic kind of way.
Yep.
And it's always like, it is pretty much always the colonialism of it all,
Yes.
or settler colonialism and the byproducts and ramifications of those processes.
Yeah, for sure.
And both of our friends
Yeah.
that haven't played in a long-term game with us before,
Yeah.
like, we're like, yeah, we trust that you will make that like a good nuanced
Isn't
story.
that crazy? Thank
Wow,
you. Wow. They trusted us with that. That's a crazy thing to trust someone with.
It must be like, as a not fully just white person,
Yeah.
it must be quite scary,
Yeah.
to go into a space like this,
Yeah.
knowing, like, being told that it's going to be quite an indigenous game,
Yeah.
and like already kind of knowing that based on just knowing us to
Yeah.
an extent,
Yeah.
and just being able to like, I don't know, being able to just trust the people that you're playing with must be quite a relief. It'll
Yeah.
still be hard, I assume,
Yep.
but yeah.
It's really interesting. I was thinking about it this morning, maybe last night, sometime after we'd like done our sort of session 0 everything. We did the session 0 last night, and sometimes I think, especially when I've talked about indigeneity and I've talked about who I am and my whakapapa and how I'm taking elements like we talked about the concept of death and resurrection in our game, and how like it's very Māori, you know, very, very Māori the way that it works in our game. And I was explaining it to everybody, and sometimes I mean talking about Māori concepts and pūrākau and all that sort of stuff about Māori inspired stuff and how you're using it in a game. Sometimes people being like having indigeneity at the forefront of a thing, some people can feel quite confronted with it. Some people can see it and be like, ooh, this person's indigeneity actually is like this is from experience. Some people have heard me speak about my indigeneity and sometimes perceived it as an attack on them about a way that they're like, oh, Iwa's so connected with her culture, or so knows so much about this and believes in all this, blah, 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 blah. I don't know enough about this. And sometimes they can go on the offensive or defensive about it, you know?
Which I find...
So I'm not finished.
Sorry.
I'm not finished. Sorry. And so, like, sometimes it's really, really scary having such an indigenous thing, especially a story, especially a D&D game where I'm so vulnerable as a creator and as a writer, and sharing it with people who could potentially throw it in my face. The thing about the beautiful people that we're playing this game with is that I knew that they wouldn't do that, is that I knew that I could trust them with this thing, or I hoped that I could trust them with this thing, and lo and behold, I was correct. But it's like I still think there is that nature of ooh, indigeneity, I hope for them, I hope I don't get it wrong. But instead of it being a call out, being like, haha, you suck at this indigeneity thing or respecting indigenous people, fucking do it. They're like, it's not a call out to force them or push them into a place where they can confront indigeneity. It is it's a welcoming in. It's like, this is our indigeneity. We're sharing it with you. Explore some of your own whakapapa. Explore some of your own heritage and all that sort of stuff. And it's not even there's the call in and the call out sort of thing. How it's calling them in to the indigeneity, into the indigenous space. I guess it is that. It's the karanga. Oh, the call in. Oh my God! Academia! It's happening! The call in! Oh my God. Wow. The D&D table is a marae. It is tapu space. It is the karanga. The DM is the karanga calling people in to the space. Wow.
Yeah, we'll get to that on another episode.
Big ideas, but yeah.
What I was going to say.
Yes.
What was I going to say?
I don't know.
Frick. Oh, I think this is one of the things that you made me think of.
Sure.
Is the people being put on the defensive because they're like, oh, we're so connected with their culture. How will I ever live up to such expectations? Yeah. I think is so I'm using the word funny.
Sure.
Because for so long, we have been anxious about how connected to our cultures we are.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
or aren't. Yeah.
And to be honest, I don't even think we've taken that many steps in measurable advancements to get closer to our cultures. You've learned a bit more reo in the last couple of years since being in school and using language more.
Yeah.
But we haven't gone out of our way yet to do courses or anything like that.
Not through not wanting to, just truly
for
not
a bunch
being
of
able
reasons.
to. Yeah.
But I just find it we have gotten more connected to our cultures because we've just grown more confident in how we're connected to our culture, how we express our cultures, etc.
Yeah. It's interesting. My entire master's thesis is about me being disenfranchised from my culture and reconnecting through tabletop role-playing games.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing. I didn't explain it particularly well in my thesis. I lived it. I did it. It's pretty cool. But if it is one of the things that I wish I could go back and do again.
I also think it's interesting, from your masters,
the
way that you've continued to connect through TTRPG with your Māori culture since then.
Yeah.
And in your thesis.
Yep.
You made a new game. You wrote a whole new game and a bunch of different mechanics and everything, and explored a bunch of different ideas about
it's not particularly good, but yes, continue.
Who cares?
Yeah.
I think it was good.
Sure.
You explored a bunch of ideas in it and everything, and I know, I've played D&D with you in all the time since then.
Yeah.
I know that you took almost all of those ideas
and
just put them into the D&D that we were playing.
Yeah.
Instead of us playing the game that you made for your masters.
Yeah.
You just incorporated all of those ideas, everything you'd learned and figured out about game design, and put it into D&D.
Well,
and sure, the game of D&D we play is a completely reshaped version of D&D that doesn't really align with D&D rules as written. But it's still, it's become a hybrid of that.
Yep. It is definitely, we started playing D&D in 2019. I did my master's in 2022 or 3? 2022. Yeah? So we've been playing for maybe 4 years, 2018. Yeah, 4 years. Been playing for 4 years, and the entire time that I'd been playing D&D, I had been doing it in a Māori way, right? Mostly, when I started off, I was like, oh, it has to be Tolkien, it has to be fantasy, it has to be white, really, really white. And I realized that it like hurt my soul, and I was like, oh, I need to make it more me, and I need to make it more a reflection of who I am. And I kept adding myself to it, and over time I realized that I was just making it, like, a lot of it was about who I am, where I come from, and a lot of it was Māori. Not necessarily all of it, some of it was like my love of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. That's not particularly Māori, but at the same time it kind of is, because whanangatanga and all that shit. But it's like I took all of the parts of Māoriness that I knew, like I didn't, it's not that I didn't know a lot. I knew some bits, and I knew some bits really, really well, but I put them into our game, and it's like I took that and boom, I became like an expert at that thing, And I became so confident in the exploration of that thing. Like, I think I always go back to Hine Nui Te Po. She is like my goddess. I love her. She is beautiful and amazing. I want to be her. I want to kiss her. Everything. She is amazing. I think I've known her my entire life, and I think I connected with her a lot when I was like 14, and I was like, I'm ready to leave this world. I'm okay. I'm done. And I think she was there with me, and she was like, okay, like, you want to leave. I don't want you to leave. But if you do, I will walk with you, and I'll take you to that next place, and I'll be sad, but I'll be there for you. And I'm like, okay, cool. And that's how I like became less afraid of death. It's like, it wouldn't be a scary thing. It would be born of pain, but in the end it would be a slow walk, just a slow walk with a friend, to the end of it, and that's okay with me, and I was fine with that. And I knew that at 14. I knew about her, and I knew how she worked for the most part, and then I continued to live my life, and I figured out more about who she was, more about how she came to be, and in like learning, even like I did the Māori narratives paper at design school. I was like 21, 22 at this point, and I became more like, it gave me more opportunities to learn more about atua, and to figure out more pūrako about them and all that stuff, and I connected more with them, and I learned more about Hine, and I was like, oh fuck, she's amazing, beautiful, cool. And so when we started playing D&D, and when death became a thing, and resurrection became a thing, and so much of it, the people that we were playing with it at the time, so much of death and the afterlife was so baked in Christianity, and so baked in Western ideology and mythology and all of that, just like heavily Western stuff. I was like, this is not how I understand death. I've never understood death to be this way. Even when I was Christian, like I get it, I understand it on paper, but I've never felt it. And so immediately I felt I was at odds with the way that D&D talked about death, because it was very Christian, and how our players were talking about death, because it was very Christian. And we kept playing, and like 5 years later, we were really confronted with the idea of death and who death is as a person in our game of D&D. Capital D, death. And she became so much, like in our game, the character that I wrote for capital D, death, she became so much like Hine, but she herself had already died, And it was just like, we told the story of who she was and like the wake that she left behind her. And I was like, man, so much of her was Hine, and so much of her relationship and the relationship that everyone had to her was my relationship that I had to Hine. And so me, as a Māori person, put myself in there, put my Māori experiences in there, and like, yeah, like I explored who I was, and it's like I solidified my idea of death through playing D&D and exploring my relationship to Hine through D&D, and like playing D&D with people at a table and having them see, like, again, it's the karanga thing, the karanga effect of being a DM. You're calling people into your world, right? And so when I'm calling people in and people hear the stories and hear my hear the world that I am describing to them, it's like they're being welcomed in to my perception of death. They're seeing my perception of death. So when they see how death works in my world, they it's like Schrodinger's cat as well. Like, they're seeing it which makes it real, you know? It was always real for me, but it's that therapy of having other people see what I've always believed, that makes it real. I'm sharing who I am with a community of people at a table, and that process is so profoundly healing, especially showing people my understanding of death, right? And this innately indigenous understanding of death, sharing that with people is so powerful. I've talked a lot. That's my idea. That's my thoughts anyway. Continue.
It's a real privilege.
Yeah.
Getting to be somebody who's played at every table that you've DM'd.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's been like I think it's fucking insane.
Yeah.
How much playing D&D has shaped us into the people that we are today.
Crazy, huh?
And nobody else really has been a part of that. Like this podcast was born because we talk about this. We were talking about this all the time.
Yeah.
We were talking about D&D and the impact that it was having on who we were and the lives that we had and the relationships that we had and our relationship with each other constantly. And it's just like, it's crazy hearing you talk about Indigenous and like when you started having that relationship with her when you were a teenager. And like I was there.
Yeah.
We've known each other since then.
Yeah.
We've been in a relationship since pretty much then.
Yeah.
And yeah, like in saying that we haven't taken those identifiable, measurable steps towards reconnecting with our cultures through language learning, etc. Like we did it through D&D and through telling stories together over the last 8 years at least. But even before that, when you were writing the game that you've been writing since you were a teenager, also has like is also since the beginning been very indigenous, very Maori, and then very broader Pacific and indigenous, and it's just so nice to watch. Like to be a part of it, like thinking about capital D death in the campaign as well.
Yeah.
Like when we've interacted with her in the current game that we're playing, that is in the same world but has different players, except for me and Tyson, who have been there the whole time as well. Like seeing death as she is now. Yeah. She's a different character. Yeah. But like I've watched the story of death be told. Like I remember that the era of the game we were in when we were being confronted with like how not familiar that death felt in the first campaign we played.
Right. Yeah.
Like that whole the divine gate and everything that happens behind that. Yeah. And that it's so closed off from the mortal world. Yeah. And is so like unattainable and is a mystery to everybody about how death works and all of that.
Yeah, it was gross, it was bad.
Yeah, it did make me uncomfortable at the time, but I didn't know why. Yeah. Like I never really thought about it. I was just like, oh yeah, that's because death is just like scary and bad. Yeah. And then we got to the second campaign that we played. Yeah. And yeah, death, capital D death, she eventually became this huge character. Yeah. And even more so after she died in the game. Yeah. And the impact that she had on us as players and as player characters and on how we like had to develop our relationships with lowercase death and capital D death. From that point. And like, yeah, I just playing in the current campaign that we've got going that's in the same world and this new capital D death, like being somebody who was like given the privilege to have seen that story all the way through to how she is now. Yeah. It's just like, I feel bad for the other people at the table who don't know those details and like don't, and obviously when you're playing the game you have to like separate yourself as the player from the character. Sure. But also I just cheat around that by making a character who was involved with all of it. Yeah. So that all of those feelings that I have about it can be like, I get to have the catharsis of playing through them as well as the character. Yeah.
It's just smart.
It's just smart.
Yeah. It's just smart.
But it's like creation. It's just so fun.
Yeah.
To get to see the development, because the way that you see the character in the campaign develop is also like, I know that that's also you developing.
Yeah.
I know that's me developing as well. Like
Mm.
our relationship to death has changed as death has changed in our campaign.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
I think it's really cool going back to how we figured out how to connect with our cultures. Like through D&D, and I'm talked about this a little bit in a poem that I wrote as well. But like through D&D, we get to one-on-one kanohi ki te kanohi interact and talk to different gods. And the gods in our campaign, in your world, are generally quite like indigenous coded. They're pretty indigenous. They're not necessarily, not always. Sometimes they are explicitly Atua. But you get these opportunities to like interact with Atua and with these concepts that you hear about as like indigenous people. And you just develop a relationship with them that's like completely different to how other individuals develop relationships with them.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really important part of being, at least for me, it is an important part of my identity as a Cook Island, Pacific Islander, is like breaking down that idea that the gods are unattainable, all-knowing, omniscient figures that live on a mountain or some shit.
Yeah.
Like, they're everywhere.
Yep. I love that. I love the idea that, like, gods are fallible. I love the idea that gods can be fucking stupid. And I think some of that does come from the way that the gods are depicted in, like, Hades, you know? Some of them are stupid. Those ones are all, like, all the gods in Hades are, like, really egotistical and all, like, quite territorial in the way that I think they are in, like, Greek mythology and stuff. But all of our gods in like our D&D games and stuff, like again, our idea of development or our growth of ideas and stuff became more indigenous as we started playing the game, and they started more Western and gradually became more indigenous. And in that Western era of our D&D gaming, gods were so distant. You didn't talk about them, or you didn't talk to them. You didn't know what they were thinking. You didn't know them. Their intentions were nebulous. They were written down and they had to be inferred. They weren't told to you, you know? And as we went on, it was like, oh, those gods are stupid and dumb and just trash. Not good. Ignore them. They're stupid. They truly just didn't exist. You know, they just weren't. That's not how they were. Or they were like, that's how cults thought about them. But then you met the gods and they were like very normal and they didn't want anything from you. They just wanted you to like be okay. They wanted you to look after their domain. They wanted like, it's like the gods in our game are the ultimate kaitiaki of their domain, you know? Like, they are the ultimate protector of that thing. And it's like, hey, help me protect this thing. If you want to help me protect this thing, great. I'll give you some of my power so that you have an easier time doing that. That's cool. I'll share some of my stuff with you. Great. If you don't want to do that, great. Just don't fuck with me and it will be fine. Don't fuck with my domain and it'll be fine. And then if you do fuck with my domain, it's like, okay. Okay, bang, dead, gone. Like, you know, not even then. They're just like, why? You know, like, they're not, like, territorial. They're just sort of like, this is what I control. Or this is what I am the representative of. Like, you know, our number one G is the god of tempered steel and tavern brawls.
Shouts out to my dad.
Shouts out to your dad, your D&D,
my
actual
D&D dad.
father. Yeah. Like, he tavern brawls and tempered steel. Like, what a random thing to be the god of. But like, he's like, yeah, swords are pretty fucking cool. I love a good sword, and then I love a good fight in a bar. But also, like, if you don't want to do that, that's okay too. Don't really mind.
The thing. No, I'm not going to get into it because I'll just start talking about Varian. I think that, like, as well as them being fallible,
Yeah.
they're also like they're fallible in the way that just like every person in the whole world is. They're so normal. Like even the domain stuff. The thing that I find interesting about the way that we've played D&D and comparing how we interact with the gods now compared to that first campaign when they were so like distant and unattainable.
Yeah.
And were just like ideas.
Yeah.
That it got easier to start thinking about the gods and their role in the world when I did just start treating them like people.
Yeah.
We've had many a conversation about this.
Yeah.
But like the main thing that I think about whenever we're interacting with any of the gods is like, what is their reasoning for doing anything?
Yeah.
And in a non-indigenous, maybe in a more Western like pantheon of gods, they're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, it's just because that's how the fuck they are. Because
Yeah.
they have so much power, they don't know what to do with it."
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
no, like this god's pissed off because his sister like doesn't talk to him, and like a long time ago they had a falling out, and now things are just tense since then.
Yeah.
And they're just siblings that aren't getting along for some reason, probably a good one.
Yeah.
But
Just normal
like,
people.
if you just treat them like somebody who's has emotions
Yeah.
about perfectly normal issues that happen in most families,
Yeah.
you're probably gonna go a lot further
Mm-hmm.
if you're just hanging out
Yep.
instead of like praying to them
Yeah.
and asking them to ignore the problems that they currently have.
Yeah.
To help you with like your, I don't know, fire or something.
It's really interesting. I think, like, especially like with the domain stuff, it's like they're not necessarily like, you know, they didn't like. People always think like when a god is a thing of that domain, like the god of shadows, they're the controller of all shadowy things, and it's like, well, not necessarily. At least in like Māori mythology, the Māori pantheon, the gods are literally those things, you know? Like, Tangaroa is literally the ocean. Ranginui, literally the sky. Papatōnuku, literally the land. It's like, if, like, our gods, like, you know, there's the god of knowledge. If knowledge didn't exist, would she? I don't know. You know? Like, your dad, the god of tempered steel and bar fights. If no one fought in a bar, and if swords didn't exist, would he exist? I don't know.
This is what I was going to say before when I didn't want to stop myself from getting too much into Varian, but I'm
Yeah.
going to make it a little bit broader.
Sure.
Is that I think with that kind of stuff, that when I like to play and also have this relationship in the real world with Atua, where my relationship to them is really personalized.
Yeah.
So, like, to my example in the real world is with Tangaroa. Like, my relationship to him is that he's kind of a dick sometimes.
Sure.
He's kind of like my uncle who's a bit of a dick, or like an older cousin who's a bit of a dick.
Mm-hmm.
And you go to the beach and there's too many waves and you can't swim because it's too rough, and you're like, you dick.
Yeah.
Please just make it a little bit easier to swim next time.
Yeah.
So that I'm not getting thrown around. And then I went a couple days later and it was flat and there were no waves to swim with.
Yeah.
And I was like, you petty bastard. I didn't mean nothing.
Yeah.
I just meant not dangerous.
Yeah.
And so like I like to have that really personalized relationship with them. And then when it comes to the domains of gods in D&D, like with Varian,
Yeah.
being the god of bar fights, tavern brawls,
Yeah.
I you know, am all knowing. I'm just cooler. I go beyond that. And like what led to the tavern brawl is like he's probably also in the domain of like stories being told in a bar.
Yeah.
And like the relationships that are built between
Yeah.
a patron at the bar and the bartender and what that kind of exchange is like. And he becomes for me the god of all of that.
Yeah. And he also, like, you know, the classification of like him being like, he's a guy, like, does he cease to exist if his domain ceases to exist? Probably. He's just a person, you know? Like, the domain of like explicitly what he is, probably just given to him by some like weird religious person. Like, probably wasn't a thing that he explicitly said, this and this, that's mine. Like,
It's what he became what people believed
it's
him
because
to be.
yeah, probably, because he was the first one to fucking do it.
Yeah.
Or he did it like really hard for a little bit, you know? He went on a bender and fucking just punched a bunch of people in a bar for a little while, and everyone was like, he's a god. That's all he fucking does. Or like, you know, it was just like, you know, went to a blacksmith, or like, you know, taught people how to blacksmith, do some tempered steel.
Really well.
Did it really fucking good. It was like, hey, you want to learn this? And just did that for a really long time. And everyone was like, this is what he was made to do.
This man's a god.
Yeah. And so then they just, you know, he's just a powerful guy who can do some stuff. And people were just like, that's the only thing that you can do. And he's like, no. Like, how many times in our fucking game has he had an actual bar fight and actually made some fucking steel? Never. Yeah. And it,
he made a sword once, but it wasn't made of steel.
Yeah. And it's a thing as well that I like. Is like when, like, your idea, no, sorry, not the way that you express your relationship to Tangaroa, just rocking up to the beach and be like, for the love of God, stop being wavy, you know, just chill out. And then going back the next couple of days, and it's completely like, fucking, you got, what is wrong with you, you know? That, in essence, is talking to a god, right? And in Western society, that is viewed as praying, you know?
Yeah.
So our way of talking to our atua is to just fucking talk to them because they're right there, you know?
The thing about praying, though, in Western religion and stuff is, as far as I know, I'm technically christened, but I don't believe in any of that crap.
Yeah.
As far as I understand, you pray to God or whatever, and don't expect a reply.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah, I got a reply. It was the waves changing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's fine, you know? Like, it's just interesting the way that, like, in D&D, same thing. A lot of people pray to a god, put your hands together, close your eyes, say some really nice things and hope that they help you in any way possible. When we use commune or something at our table, you're like, it's like you've picked up the phone and it's like, hey, just leaving you a message. Can you just
if you're not busy,
what's the deets with this thing? Can you just let me know if you're free? Just let me know. And then like they'll ring back and be like, yo, it's this. And it's like, yeah, okay, cool. No, thank you. Yeah, okay, bye. That's it. Like, they will just talk to you. Often, they just rock up because I can't be fucked giving you some, like,
convoluted,
mysterious, vague thing. I did it for a little bit because that's what Christianity does. And I'm like, no. The God just rocks up and tells you.
Yeah.
Because that's just easier.
Yeah.
It makes more sense.
It also makes for more interesting relationships to roleplay as a player.
For sure.
Like, even with Varian, as a paladin of him, I did the, because I was playing him kata as someone who didn't really know how to interact with a god in like the ways that gods do.
Sure.
His relationship with Varian up until that point had been like, we hang out, get a burger, have a drink, talk for a bit, and then I have to go to work and he has to go to work, so we just like part ways for a second. And this was the first time where he was trying to interact with him where they couldn't do that normally. So I like put a cold drink out and like, I don't know, gold coins, just to see what would happen. Yeah. And then he showed up, and essentially just so that they could have a little argument. Yeah. Like I wanted to just have a tiff with him. Yeah.
And that's how you called to the god. It's just put a drink out, some coins. Please come.
Yeah, but in the way that like when in traditional D&D or whatever the fuck you want to call it, that they would like pray and hope for a vague answer. Yeah. Like I just think it's really fun. Yeah. That we kind of a lot of the times do away with like the sanctity of the divine in D&D. Yeah. We're like in other games, like I'm basing this off of watching like TikToks and shit, where people talk about how like their gods, when they're a cleric or whatever, want to like smite people because they badmouth their domain or whatever. Yeah, I just think it's fun to write a character who is mad at his god and wants to just like argue with him. Yeah, it's like come here, so I can tell you how pissed off at you I am. Yeah,
and I think it's really interesting. Like I was talking earlier about how like a god would like smite someone for like saying like the wrong thing. They like in our game, I don't think a god has ever smited anyone. I think there's always like
sometimes they kill me because I'm being a little shit.
But like, only because like you truly brought it on yourself.
Yeah.
And was like, you were being an asshole to them, and they were like, just fucking shut up.
Being an asshole to someone who doesn't
Shut
really
up.
have the patience for it at a certain point and has the ability to kill you. Like,
Especially the evil god, you know?
Yeah.
Especially when you've got the relationship with them, and they're like, hey, listen, don't be a little shit right now. Don't do it. And then you go and be a little shit. And they're like, yeah, well, here's your lesson, kid. I'm going to stab you in the heart. Die quietly. Thank you. See you later. Yeah, that's your lesson.
Yeah.
Well done. But like most gods, especially in our games, where if like you are the champion of a god, most of the time, it's just like, hey, what happened? You were meant to help me. And they'll just rock and be like, I'm so sorry. I tried. I truly tried.
I was on the way.
I was slow. I'm so sorry.
There was a lot of stuff that kept coming up. A lot of really big things. Trust me, you're not the only person that I got to worry about.
Yeah, it's really funny.
Yeah. That's what I like about our game a lot of the time. I also wanted to talk about, continuing on about the new game that we're starting.
Sure.
And I've been thinking about this, and I honestly need to write it down.
Sure.
For my studies.
Yes.
But, like, I was trying to figure out if I was going too hard on making an Indigenous character.
Okay.
On if it was like, if I was trying to shoehorn it, essentially.
Sure.
To line up with, like, the PhD and everything.
Interesting.
Yeah. If I was just trying to give myself more material.
Oh no. I mean, if you're aware of it, probably not.
Yeah,
You know?
I've been thinking about it for a while.
Yeah.
For like 2 weeks, probably, which is a while to me. And I don't think that it is what I'm doing.
Yeah. No.
Because I had to think about, like, all the other times that I've made characters.
Yeah.
I always pull out the Cook Island names book and try to find a name in there for me. And I always lean towards making, like, a very, like, even if it's not explicitly this character is brown skinned, this character has, like, notable Pacific Island facial features and bone structure and build, and has a brown name and a brown last name and, like, blah 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 blah. Even though I don't always explicitly do that, I always imbue the character with, like, Indigenous values and, like, ways of being.
True.
And the family dynamic is always, like, either they're coming from a family dynamic that doesn't work for them and is seeking out one that is more Indigenous and feels to me like a better way of having family, or they already start with that, like, Indigenous groundwork foundation, and are building off of it.
I will say that, like, your current character for this online game is the most Indigenous character you've ever made, for sure. Just, like, has a lot of,
in some ways,
and I think it is partly to do with the class that you're playing, you know.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Like,
I did start leaning into it a lot more when I decided that I was going to play your homebrewed class, the Wayfinder. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I made a class called the Wayfinder. I've had this class in my head for almost a decade. I love it. It's so fun. And
it is very fun.
There have been NPCs that have been Wayfinders before, but never PCs. And so you decided to be a Wayfinder this campaign. And it's so fun. They're so silly. But they're so, like, they are truly, really, like, closely inspired by Pacifica-ness and, you know, Māori-ness and, like, Voyager-ness. It's really
obviously,
funny.
by the name.
By the name.
You can tell.
It's hilarious.
I've thought about playing one before in the past, but I was beholden to the paladin,
of course.
So I just kept going back to a paladin every time, and I couldn't stop myself. But I'm a little paladined out.
Yeah,
a little bit.
I
played two, and it's just like, those first few levels, they're all the fucking same.
Yeah.
I love a paladin, but especially with this new game, it's in a new world. Like, know the gods and stuff, and I'm like, I always leaned to a paladin in the other game because in the other world, I know the gods and I love them and I want to know them more.
Yeah.
So I'm always drawn to having a relationship with them. So it always just leads me to a paladin because clerics are boring.
Yeah.
And in this one, like, I don't need to. You haven't told me a lot about the gods, so I'm not immediately like, oh, I want to know that one and I want him to be my dad.
Yeah.
And I still intend to have my character for this new game be quite. I don't know what the dynamic is between the people and the gods in this one, but I still, will intend for him to have quite like that indigenous kind of relationship with whoever the gods are.
Sure.
For his people.
Sure.
But yes, he is like one of the most indigenous ones I've made. Kind of.
Yeah.
Kind of. Like, Manoa was pretty indigenous.
Manoa was very indigenous.
But also
Kess
wasn't. Kess not so much. His Kess was more like the familial things that he wanted was more, and like the way that he wanted to be living was inspired more so by that indigeneity. Was him like wanting to figure out who he was and find his family and find where he belonged and be confident in his own identity instead of...
Could you turn the fan just that way? It's just blowing on the mic. Continue.
Yeah. Was for him to reconnect with who he was and where he originally came from. That's like I'm not somebody who was adopted, but that's why I wrote him as a kid that had been adopted when he was a baby, because I wanted to go through the reconnection journey with him.
Yeah, it was really good. It was really fun.
Yeah, it ended up
really
being
beautiful,
like its own whole big thing.
Yeah.
In a different way to what I anticipated, but was still like amazing.
I think it was very, like, again, indicative of where we were in our lives. Like,
he did end up being quite reflective of me, of like, he didn't fully connect with the person that he was born as and like going back to that, but he figured out how he wanted to be connected to those things while still being himself. Yeah.
And he I think, is very us in that, like, there are a lot of prescribed ways where he could have been, he's a fucking god, and there are a lot of expectations of gods and things, and he did it his own way. He did his own thing. And he did it in a way that was indicative of who he was as a person. Like, he put a lot of himself in how he was a god, which is not normal, That's not what a lot of people do. Like, you hear people like, yes, in D&D, I became a god, and I smote everybody, I killed all my enemies, blah, 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 and like, just fucking, what is it? God mode? Just like whatever,
right.
And like fanfics and stuff, just like, they just do everything. They just like win it all. But like, he was still a god in the indigenous way that we have written our gods, but he was also just like us. He was just a normal person who was just exploring this new part of his life, and it was interesting. It's very interesting. He came into his own in the same way. You could do a lot of like interesting analogs about indigeneity, about how he was, in him accepting his godliness is like, or like, because he pushed against it for a really long time. Your character pushed against being a god for a really long time, and then truly accepted, like, that is who he is, that is where he comes from, and like, he didn't want to be that person. He was afraid of connecting in that way and being a bad god and being bad at being a god, which, as a Māori person, I identify with a lot, like, especially as a trans woman who grew up as a Māori man for 21 years. I was a boy for 21 years. There's a lot of that, is a lot of being a Māori man is being like, oh, fuck, so much of the world is afraid of me, scared of me, thinks I'm a criminal, thinks lowly of me, doesn't expect much of me, like, so much of that. And do I want to be Māori? Like, there's nothing I can do about it, but like, there are people who see their Māoriness as a detriment, to themselves and see that their connection is like, they don't, there's not often these days, but definitely growing up, there are a lot of people around me who are like trying to be the good Māori, the academic good Māori, like, cosplay as the best white person that they possibly could. And it was a lot of like what my mother was trying to teach me, was trying to not be Māori. And I was like, I don't really like that. I'm not really good at that. It feels like cosplay, and it fucking hurts. It hurts my soul. And so growing up, it was learning that like, no. This Māori thing that I have, it is a superpower. I don't need to be afraid of it. I don't need to view it as a detriment to myself. And like, the thing about it is like, as long as I'm respectful of who I am and who my culture is, and like know that I am constantly learning, and I will always be bad at it, but at some points I'll be less bad than I was before, like constantly trying to learn and trying to grow as in my understanding of my Māoriness. I can be the best Māori that I can be. And I think I identify with Kes a lot in that he was like, man, his godliness is like his Māoriness. He was afraid of it, but embraced it. Like, same vibes. And I'm not trying to misconstrue the idea that fucking Māori, being Māori is like being a god. Not at all. Just like, you're born with a thing.
That's the story that I was telling. Like, you're not misinterpreting what was happening. I used his, like, even just getting rid of the god part. Like, the family that he was born from, the culture that he was born from, he had been disconnected from, and reconnecting to it was difficult, very difficult and dangerous for him. Because it was like, it had been used against him when he was young. It had been like this tool of oppression, essentially, for a long time. And to save himself from that trauma, he ran away from all of it. And then had to started being confronted by it because it was confronting him. And was, like you said, like he fought against that for a while. And then like realized that the fighting against it was hurting just as much as it would have if he wasn't fighting against it. And the times where he didn't fight against it and started to like try and embrace it however much that he did, like even though that was hard and it hurt a lot of the time, the bits that came after were better. And every time he went a little bit further, the bit that came after was better than the last time. And so on and so on. I'm gonna cry. Like, it's like, are we talking about a D&D game right now, or are we talking about just being Indigenous? Our lives.
Oh my god. What? How do we do this? Again, we're like returning to our first episode, D&D being therapy, How do we do this sort of shit? Like the story, the thing we just described, that can be hugely confronting, That can be a horrifying thing to take, like such a personal, deeply personal and like affecting story, put it first to paper and then to voice, to story, to share with people around a table, and then in some cases, like us, put it on camera and share it with people. How, my question to you, my love, how do we do that and be safe in doing that?
Well, I think for us in particular, like specifically for us, I think we spend a lot of time talking about it.
We do.
And like talking through the feelings that we're having and reflecting on the games that we're playing and how it's impacting us. To talk more about like the literature. Like when people are writing about, and I'm specifically talking about the book that I read by Tom James Carter. They Came to Slay. I think I mentioned it last episode as well. Is the way D&D in particular there's like this, or the way that like other people like to talk about it. I don't know if I think about it the same way, But the way that people talk about D&D and being queer and playing queer characters and exploring queer identity through playing D&D is that there is like the distance between you as the player and the game itself.
Sure.
Where there's like a safety net kind of barrier where if you're a player who up until that point had considered yourself cisgendered, heterosexual, etc., you have this distance between you and the game where you're not saying that you're, say for example, if I was a cis woman, I'm not saying that I'm a man because I'm playing a male character. I'm just playing the male character. And I get to maintain this distance between me and character that keeps me safe from other people, from the other people at the table, from whatever, from other people watching it online or something like that. Like, people aren't going to look at my character and look at me and think, that woman's actually a man.
Whoa!
Because they're playing a male character.
Yeah.
Like, that's just not the way it works.
No.
But I, to an extent, disagree with that.
Sure.
I disagree with this idea that there's like this big gap between you and character. Or at least for myself, because I like the gap to be quite small. I think for us, and this also loop-de-loops back to the game that we had the session 0 for yesterday. I think there's a lot about building the table of people around you and establishing the, what's the word? The kawa of the table and like the story that you're going to be telling, where like what I was just saying about the distance between character and player keeping you safe at a table of people. Like the table of people should be safe. Yeah. Not the fact that you're separate from your character. It should be that the people at your table are keeping you safe. Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, I think that's a lot of what we've had. And even when maybe when the table isn't completely safe for us in past games, we keep each other safe a lot of the time, or try to at least.
We try to.
And I like going forward in D&D, I think are making more of a conscious effort to create safe tables for ourselves and for others.
I've made the very conscious decision to only play with people who I consider to be safe. Yeah. The way that we put so much of ourselves in our D&D, like I'm not fucking around with
and I think
randoms.
It's going well.
I also think it's going well. Yeah. Dodged a bullet recently. Woo!
Yeah, we won't talk about that.
We won't talk about that.
Yeah. So that's what I think.
Yeah.
There's a lot of work that you have to do to keep a table safe.
I agree.
But when it is like that, and like with Kiss, you also need like quite good media literacy, I think, for the way that we tell the story. Yeah. I think part of the way that we tell the story is also keeping other people safe. Yeah. We're not being explicit about his story being about reconnecting with your indigenous culture and identity and figuring out who you are through that. But there is enough like actual storytelling in there to make it safer for people if that's not necessarily what they're signing up for. Yeah. And I think it is like the way that I tell stories, at least, I don't always know that that's the story that I'm going for. Yeah. It's so intrinsically a part of me as a storyteller to just imbue a character with my own things. Yeah. That it's not until, a year later since we finished that campaign, a year and a bit later since that campaign, that I've truly realized how much of his story was that. True. And that's a lot of that is because I was going through it at the same time as him in different ways. Yeah. Like, we've already talked last episode about how Kess was a big queer thing for me. Yeah. But yeah, there was a big indigenous thing there too. Yeah. Huge. Yeah. Yeah. Do you ever play the game? We haven't played much lately, but
I can't talk about Hinenui Tepo again. She's just everywhere. My indigenous play of the game. Have you got one?
I have to think about it. There's so much. It's hard to pick one.
Yeah. Death is my favorite.
Just talk about Hine.
I didn't realize how much I fucking love death in our game. It's so fun.
I think she's one of the biggest like through stories across all of our games that has persisted.
Yeah.
Is like our perception of death.
Yeah.
The in-game world's perception of death.
Yeah.
And how she operates. Like,
sorry. Yes. Continue.
No, I'm just like, that's a 6-year-long story that we've been telling.
It's true. Yes, I do have a play of the game, and it's one that I constantly sort of refer back to, and just to check myself and check why I made this decision. But it is basically in like our first campaign that we did, and in like the second campaign because it was in the same world, and whatever. In that world that we play in, there is the big bad, the big evil, and he, in the first iteration, was very much Lovan.
Yeah.
In the first iteration, he was a lot like Tane Mahuta.
Yes.
Right? He was an evil guy. He was not cool. Same way that Tane, some people fucking love Tane Mahuta, and I'm like, fuck that guy. That guy raped his daughter. No thanks. But in my processing of Tane Mahuta and my relationship to him, I was like, I need to explore this more. So I put elements, some similarities of that story in our game. And so basically, not to get talk about our own D&D game, but it's kind of difficult.
It's kind of the point of the podcast.
In this point, I'm just going to explain it briefly. But basically, this guy Lovan, he took the spirit of light and the spirit of darkness, and he made them into people. And they didn't know that they were brother and sister. And he made them have babies together. And when the mother of the babies found out, she was pissed. And so when she found out, she was pissed. And Lovan found out that she knew. And so he ate like 6 of them. And they became like his big scary arms. So he got more powerful. She was pissed. And she went to her husband, who was her brother, and was like, please help me. And he said no, and he killed her. Right? Long story short, basically, there's a lot of deeper stuff in there. But that was my way of processing how Tane Mahuta, in some Māori mythology, he wanted a wife. And so he went down to Papatuanuku, he went down to the land, to the whenua, and he created a woman out of clay. He breathed life into her, she sneezed, and he said, Tihe Moriora, which is the thing, it's the breath of life, right? And then he had a baby with her. Her name was Hineahuone. No. Hineahuone is the woman that he made out of clay. He had a baby with her. Her name was Hinetitama. And he went off, did his godly thing, came back, and Hinetitama was a beautiful woman. And so he married her. And I don't know if he had any babies with her, but he married her and had sex with her. Crazy, huh? She found out later that he was her dad. And she was so, so sad. In some interpretations of this, some people think that she killed herself and went to the underworld and became the goddess of death. Some people think that she just wandered to the underworld and saw the wairua that was there and just decided that this was her domain now. She is the god, sure, she is the daughter of a god, she has the power of a god and atua in her. She can now shepherd the wairua, the spirits, the dead in this realm. And so she returned to, Tane went down to the underworld to say, hey, I'm so sorry, please come back to the world of light, Te Ao Marama. And she said, no, fuck you. I'm going to stay here and I'm going to look after the dead. I'm going to look after, I'm going to look after our children. I think they did have babies. I'm going to look after our children down here when they get here, when they die. You go up there and you look after them while they're alive. Fuck you, do that. And he was like, okay, I will. So that is Māori mythology. I use D&D to process that story to me because I was horrified when I learned that as a kid, that a dad knocked up his daughter. I was like, fuck. That's horrifying. Why would Māori have this story? And it wasn't until I was older. And it's, the horrors of being alive and being human truly, they hit you, and you learn all these stories, and you learn that that's not an entirely uncommon thing to happen. But you learn that the stories that we have as a culture, for sometimes the stories that we have as a culture, for like 1,000 years, this story has hung around in Māori culture as a lesson to Māori people, to Māori men. Don't have kids with your daughters, because they'll fuck off to the underworld and become the most powerful being in the world and try to kill you. Don't do it, right? That's not the only lesson to be learned here. I'm trying to make it funnier, but that it's a lesson that is fucking crazy. Don't do that, you dumb bitch, right? And I had to learn that the power of that story is that it is a lesson. It is a lesson for us to learn that we shouldn't fucking do that. You should never do that. But I only learned that. Well, that's not true. But I writing my story about Lorvan, making his kids do it to create more god babies. Writing that story helped me process the story about Tane being a fuckwit, right? And that's a scary thing. That's not like a particularly safe thing. And it's not a thing that I've even explicitly said at our D&D table. It is a thing, if people have asked me, I've said that, and people have been like, whoa, but it is a lesson at our table. But it is fucking scary. It's fucking scary, and it's a thing that I did consciously because I wanted to process it a little bit more. And I think I have done that. Yeah. It's not even a story that I'm particularly proud of, because it is just gross. Lorvan, yeah.
I think it's interesting as well.
Yeah.
Like, because, again, I have quite a particular relationship with Lorvan.
Yeah.
That, like, I think also exemplifies. Is that the word I'm thinking of?
Sure.
But, like, you know how you were saying that a lot of people really like Tane.
Yeah.
And, like, respect him in a lot of ways for a lot of other things that he has done as a god.
Yeah.
Like, I have what I consider quite a complicated relationship with Lorvan.
Yeah.
Because Cass, again, trying to figure out his relationship to his godlyhood, realized that that was somebody who he had a biological relationship to, and was one of the only people that were like acknowledging him in that way. Like, and he realized very early on that it was like, oh, this is not a good relationship, not safe. But like, he can't help but feel some of that little, like, somebody in my family is acknowledging me and seems to like me, sort of. You can't help but feel that sometimes. And it just makes it like this really complicated relationship. That, yeah, I think says a lot about how gods can be interpreted by people differently depending on the relationship that they have with them. Yeah. I have my own separate ideas as a player in D&D, in your world or not, about like the truth of the stories that get passed down about gods.
Sure.
Like, even with Lorvan, that whole story about Ligon and Venetrix and him doing that to them, making them do that, and then like fucking off and being completely useless to them the rest of the time.
Yeah.
Like, that's a whole separate story to what we found out in our other campaign about him having like a son in this old ancient civilization
that
he like destroyed the world to save.
Okay. We need to move away from our
I
the content of
suppose,
our game.
but it's just like the
You need to talk about it in
complicated
the
relationships that you can have with the gods,
Yeah.
based on what you know about them.
Yeah.
I think also is like kind of realistic about just the relationships you can have with people in general.
I think for me, like with our queer and our brown table that we play our D&D game with, I decided I was going to rewrite that story, right? Because I didn't like it and it made me uncomfortable. I decided I was going to rewrite the Lorvan and the son and the daughter story. That's what I had decided I wanted to do. And then I had to like stop, and I was like, why do I want to do that? I had to like stop, and I had to really think about why I wanted to do that, and what was it that made me uncomfortable about it, you know? And part of it was that I was like, what? Again, that idea of like, why the fuck would Māori people write this shitty story, or not write it, but like, why? Whoa, what is this? Why have it? Why tell this story for generations, over and over again? Why this same fucking story? Ugh. And then it's truly just it's that lesson. It's like, we don't want that to ever happen. We don't want that to happen, so we tell this story so that it doesn't, you know. And I was like, I'm like, man, why aren't we as Māori ashamed of this story? Why, like, we tell it often. Hinenui Te Po is so powerful and so beautiful, and her story, like, I get not a lot of people know it, to be fair, but once they do know it, it's like, what the fuck? Why didn't we change that? Why didn't we just, you know, we could have just stopped that oratory tradition and just stopped telling it. But we didn't. And yeah, I think as Māori, like, we don't need to be afraid of it, you know? It's not like, it's a lesson. Yes, it's in the same way that it's like, you need a bit of fear of a thing to not do the thing. But it is a thing that happened, and from it came like this powerful story, this horrifying story, that,
I think
has lasted for so long and has made such a massive impact on so many people and on our culture. And I think I was like, I think that's the lesson, and I think that needs to remain. That's why I haven't changed my sort of loosely inspired story, because that would be me choosing to look away from the decisions that my people have made about the story to continue to tell it and to have it persist throughout all of history. That is me saying, no, this is a good story. This is a good pūrako to have. This is a good lesson to have. We need to remember it. That's me.
I think it's important to tell this story because too many other cultures, societies, shy away from having warning stories about terrible things that people are capable of doing and do.
Yeah.
Like, if the story didn't exist, then like you're just not gonna talk about it. It's not gonna be something that you have to talk about the bad things to keep the bad things from happening.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just this thing that gets swept under the rug all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. That's my play of the game. Did you have one?
No, I got caught up in the Hinenui Te Po of it all.
Oh, yeah, okay. As we always do.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't need it. We're at time. If you have one, cool, we can continue talking. But if you don't want to, it's fine.
No, I don't really have one. The whole game's pretty indigenous.
The whole game's pretty indigenous. We tell very indigenous stories when we play very indigenous games. That's how we go.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think my play of the game in general was just like making another indigenous character.
It's pretty fun.
And like being proud of him.
Being a wayfinder.
Yeah, that's really cool. And like the wayfinder class that you wrote, it really, I think, and you know, I got to help with a little bit of it. And we'll continue to as we play it because it's under development.
Mm-hmm.
I really like how giving me the permission to play an indigenous class, like a really heavily Indigenous based class,
Mm.
also like pushed me to make a more Indigenous character and really lean into that.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't happen often, I assume.
Yeah.
Don't know. I've always played at your table.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen often to play in a game where your DM is Indigenous and wants you to do Indigenous things.
Yeah.
Again, what a privilege.
What a privilege.
What a privilege.
What a
That
privilege to be.
the only D&D I've ever played has been with you.
It's not true though.
Almost.
Almost.
99% of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just getting to explore those ideas with you all the time is really exciting.
It's really fun.
Yeah.
GG.
GG. I don't remember how I usually end the episodes.
No, I don't know.
This has been Use Wanna Go.
Yep.
We talked about indigeneity, part 1.
Part 1
of who knows?
thousands.
Thousands.
We'll talk about this for the rest of our lives.
We will.
We will.
We didn't have any art on the wall this time. That's
Nope.
okay.
We meant to, but we didn't.
Next episode, what are we going to talk about?
I have no idea. Anything.
Anything.
Yeah.
Everything. I
Everything.
guess maybe something will come up in the next month or so.
Yeah, who knows?
Don't know.
It's good that we do this a month at a time because it gives us a lot of time
to think about things.
to think about things. Like, we have some very deep thoughts sometimes, you know. And you don't have those every week. Sometimes you got to force them if you do it a weekly thing, but doing it a month at a time is like, I got some real big thoughts sometimes.
Big thoughts since the last time we talked.
Yeah. So
Anyway,
next
week maybe I'm going to meet Robbie Damon.
wow,
That's pretty fun.
your hero,
My
your
hero.
love, your true love.
No.
No,
No.
oh, he's married. So
My wife is my true love.
your wife is who's not me.
Nah, she's
No,
fictional.
She's fictional. Yes. And I'm just here. Yes. That's fine.
My co-host.
No! I've been down
Anyway,
degraded to a
this
co-host.
has been Yous Wanna Go.
No!
We'll see you soon for the next episode, and maybe around the time of the next episode, we'll also see you for our first episode of the game,
Of the game.
the game show,
Yeah.
the game
I know DD
TTRPG
podcast.
actual play live,
Wow.
but also episodic show that you've titled "Yous Wanna Roll" because it
Yous
goes
Wanna
with,
Roll. Yep.
goes with this podcast name.
And this
which is pretty
the
fun.
particular game we're playing is called Turn the Lights Off. Wow.
What'd you call it? Titlo?
Titty low.
Titty low.
TTLO. Titty low.
Titty low. Yeah, so we'll see you next time for Titties on the Low.
No! Okay, bye.